Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Thunder Today YouTube channel. I am your host, Dylan Hibbard, and in today's video, we are going to continue our player prediction series. We're also going to wrap up our top 5 list with doing just in general the top 10 OKC players ever. We're also going to do our trade and off-season rumor stuff, and then at the end, we'll also do a little topic on a podcast with Tyson Chandler talking about the 2012 team. But first off, just kind of talking about our player prediction series. If you haven't been keeping up with it so far, we're just going through every rotational player and kind of what to expect from them in this upcoming season. So far, we have done all of the starters, and then we've done our 3 main bench pieces, and Alex Caruso, Cason Wallace, and Aaron Wiggins. And today we're going to hop into J-Will. I feel like J-Will is one of the safer guys to stay on this team on the bench option stuff, so we're going to dive into him today. And for J-Will, I think he's kind of secure just because he's that hype guy. He's the guy on the bench that kind of gets the team going, and we got him on a team-friendly deal on a 3-year, $15 million extension. And he provides that size that now Thomas Sorber we will not have because of Thomas Sorber's injury. And he's really been able to stretch the floor when he's out there. He has a lot of size that Chet doesn't provide on the interior. So he plays against a lot like we saw him in the Nuggets series. He was playing minutes out there against Jokic just because he can take those bumps from Jokic and really stand up strong in that sense. So he's going to be valuable in many different ways. And I think his offensive game is mainly stretching the floor and hitting threes. We really don't see him do much other than maybe some putbacks or close to the rim type stuff and really just shooting the three. And he can really shoot the 3 ball well. So that's why I think he's going to be a stickler on this team for the years to come, at least for the rest of his contract, just because he can really stretch out the floor and he provides that stretch where if we need to run him out there and we want to run a 5 out, he can go out there and really expand that to where the big guy's having to come out and guard him because he can't hit those shots if you leave him open enough. So once again, I just think J-Will is going to be one of those guys that kind of sticks around for a few years, not only because what he can provide on the offensive end with his shooting, but he has the size to go up against your guys like a Jokic, Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, maybe if we run into the Cavs like an Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, just to kind of get some of those bumps off of Chet where he can kind of take those since he's a bigger build and stuff like that. But now we'll kind of transition into our big fun topic of the day, talking about the top 10 OKC Thunder players of all time. If you haven't been keeping up over the past 5 videos, we've done top 5 in every single position, point guard, shooting guard, all the way through to center. And today we're going to wrap it up with the top 10 OKC players in Thunder history in general. And we're going to start off at number 10 with Steven Adams. In yesterday's video, we had him as the 2nd best center of all time. And he's my personal favorite Thunder player. As you can see there behind me is the Steven Adams jersey. And he's been one of my favorite players. He was just a guy who set screens out there almost like an Isaiah Hartenstein, mainly in there for rebounds, setting screens, and being a big body. And he's just one of my favorite players of all time, and I think he's right inside that top 10 for OKC Thunder players of all time. At number 9, I have Chris Paul. I think what Chris Paul was able to do in his limited time in OKC, he was a role model for Shea, really getting Shea under his wing and kind of get Shea going to take over the team after that 2020 season. And not only in that 2020 season, we thought we were in the midst of a rebuild, and Chris Paul has a crazy season and gets the Thunder into the playoffs, and unfortunately we lose to the Rockets in 7 games. But he really provided so much on that end, and then since he played so well, we were able to ship him off to Phoenix and get more assets in return in that way as well. At number 8, we have Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren was ranked as the best center in OKC history to me, and I think he kind of slots in just ahead of Chris Paul at number 8. I think what he's been able to do in his 2.5 seasons with the Thunder, being a defensive anchor, already being a part of a championship team, and now he's going to be a part of this team for years to come. I think he's already cracked his way in there, and I think he's only going to keep rising as long as he stays with the Thunder. I think by the end of this decade, I think we could see the big three of Chet, J-Dub, and Shea, if they win another couple championships, to all be inside the top 5 with other guys that we will talk about here in a minute. And at number 7, I have James Harden. I think for the time being, James Harden ranks right above Chet. I think James Harden was here for a bit more time. He got the 6th Man of the Year. He was a big part of that 2012 team. And I just think he provided a bit more over the time. I think by the end of this season, he could very well be behind Chet now and kind of dropping. But for the time being, I have James Harden as the 7th best Thunder player of all time. Now here in the middle area, we have 6, 5, and 4, which are 3 very interesting players. And I could see a lot of people switching up their view on this. At number 6, I have Serge Ibaka. At number 5, I have Jaylin Williams, and at number 4, I have Paul George. And I've seen a few people say that they think J-Dub has kind of already passed Paul George just because he was able to be the second option on a championship team. I have no disagreement with that. I think by the end of this season, J-Dub will be ahead of him, but I think for the time being, just the way Paul George was an MVP candidate and legit one of the 5 best players in 2018-2019, just that season alone, I think kind of puts him above me. And I think Jaylin Williams has already passed Serge Ibaka. We talked about Ibaka being the original Chet-type guy. He had the nickname Serge Ibaka for a reason. He would be a defensive monster at the rim, and that's what Chet has become at this point. But those 3, you can kind of fluctuate anywhere you want. You could have Serge a bit higher. You maybe drop Paul George over J-Dub and have J-Dub a bit higher. But those are my 6 through 4. And then for the top 3, I feel like everybody and every Thunder fan should have the same top 3, no matter, not necessarily the order, but the same players. And at number 3, I have Russell Westbrook, and number 2, KD, and number 1, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think KD just being, as a favorite, no, KD's probably number 3 behind Russ, but KD was just at his time and was a part of the Thunder for a bit longer, and I think you have to give KD that second spot. I think Russ is number 3, and then obviously Shai is without a doubt the best Thunder player of all time now, and as long as he continues to do what he does, I don't see anybody in the near future taking over Shai as going to be the best Thunder player ever for a very long time. So Shai's already got that title for most people after having one of the greatest seasons ever, and I think he's going to have that title for at least the next decade plus, and we'll see if anybody can kind of take that over as we go along. But now we'll kind of transition into talking about a possible trade option for the Thunder. Now that Thomas Sorber's not going to be there, you kind of look for some big man that could maybe play some bigger minutes down the stretch. And I think a guy you could look at from the Charlotte Hornets is Mark Williams. It feels like he hasn't been able to get his stride going with Charlotte, and they haven't been able to use him in the right way. And I think if we could bring him over to the OKC Thunder, provide a bit more size against teams like a Denver Nuggets or a Houston Rockets, could provide a lot of valuable time to the Thunder. And I think the Charlotte Hornets would be willing to take just a few kind of not very many valuable pieces in that essence, as I think they would maybe be fine with like an Ousmane Dieng type player and a couple of picks. I don't think it would be too crazy much. Maybe an Isaiah Joe on top of that to kind of get a Mark Williams, but it's kind of interesting to think about that side of the things. And a guy I think the Thunder could very well go after, especially if come trade deadline we're kind of struggling on the rebounding size and just the size overall of the team. But now we'll kind of wrap up the video talking about Tyson Chandler possibly would have joined the 2012 Thunder. And it came out on a podcast yesterday. He was talking about it and how there was a trade going through that the Thunder would have gotten Tyson Chandler on that team with KD, Russ, and Harden. But apparently some stuff with the league around his physicals. He didn't pass a few physicals, and it didn't allow him to get traded throughout that season. And he said throughout the podcast that he believes if he was on that Thunder team, that they would have won 2 or 3 championships. And I mean, if you go back and look for you younger people who might not remember Tyson Chandler that much, he was a part of that 2011 Mavs team that won the title against the Heat. So he already knew how to go up against that Heat team who we faced in the 2012 finals. And he was really athletic for his size. Just imagine a starting lineup of Russ, Harden, KD, Serge Ibaka, and Tyson Chandler back in 2012, or a closing lineup because Harden was coming off the bench. That lineup against the LeBron James Heat and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, it would have been an amazing finals, and unfortunately with just some physical stuff that wasn't been able to go through, it was not able to happen. But very, very interesting to see, and kind of how everything would have played out if that would have happened, how much of the league would have changed. But that'll be it for me today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. That'll be it for me, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.